Hi everybody, it's Thursday, August 28th, and I'm going to start today by reading Heaven Calling. I'm out in nature. As you can see, the Lord and I are just one out here. We're very synced up, and I just want to start here. It says August 28th, will not God bring about justice for his chosen ones who cry out to him day and night? Wow, I haven't read this yet. And this is Luke 18:7, 187. I smoke a vape right now. No judging. OG, we're going to continuously talk about no judgment because everyone's struggling, okay? But when you know something that you can do better and you don't change it, that's a different story. It's an injustice a lot of times, okay? It says on time. It says, my child, I still act in an unjust world. The evil that surrounds my people does not mean that I have turned a blind eye or that I no longer care. I am always aware of the hurting and the lost, and I hear their cries for mercy. Remember this whenever you fear that I have not heard you, or worse, that I am deliberately ignoring you. My love is constant, never changing. I hear your every prayer and prayer, and I answer in my way, in my time. When my timing does not match your expectations, don't give up on prayer, beloved, and don't give up on me. I always arrive on time. Wow, that is amazing. This is beautiful, right, guys? It says, read Luke 1:8, 1 through 14. Father, in all things I will send up my prayers to you. It says, the prayers of the righteous availeth much. This is such a good book, y'all. If you can grab it, I don't know. It's just something. I like it. I used to read Jesus Calling all the time, and then it's just this one seems to resonate with me more at this time in my life. Anyway, so I'm out here at the lake, and absorbing the beauty and the peace and the serenity, and I couldn't ask for more. But today I would like to speak on some things that I'm dealing with currently, actually. And well, there's a couple of topics actually I would like to start. Actually, I'm gonna start with the first one that I was going to talk about. Now, if you don't know me, I will tell you my name is Heidi, and it means heal every insecurity deep inside. And I just now am starting to embody this, okay? Because I was hiding, which is so oddly, right? My name is Heidi. It's got the word hide in it. And I hid all my life. I was hiding in shame. I was hiding in fear and guilt and anxiety, and I wasn't good enough, and people could say I was beautiful and this and that, and it always just felt so insulting almost because I was so broken in the parts of my mind. Now, I don't use the word broken a lot. I know we have been wounded is really what the actual word would be. I say we need healing. Wounds can be healed. Broken needs fixing, and I'm really trying to deter away from that. But anyhow, I want to mention something to you guys about, I'm a huge advocate for victims of violence, okay? I have been navigating oh my God, can you see these two butterflies behind me, y'all? Oh my God. Look how beautiful. Butterflies, on another note, those are monarchs, and they are literally some of the strongest little delicate looking things, but they're strong. They migrate back and forth from Mexico all the way up to Canada, up north, back and forth for the winters, and together, they stay together. It's a beautiful thing, and those are spiritual for sure. How could a butterfly not be spiritual? It's a total metamorphosis of a caterpillar to a cocoon to a butterfly. That is actually so incredible. I'm so glad I was on this video. That makes me so happy. Probably my nanny and papa. I mean, I'm sure, because I have so many people that are so beloved and into my life, that they spoke so much love and light into me, even still, and just believing in me. But anyhow, I'm a huge advocate for victims in Texas, okay? Now, even other places, I'm always fighting for people. Now, I consider myself a investigative documentary. I'm doing my own, because I have tried to anyway, so many different organizations, systems, resources my whole entire life. I basically have been in a cycle of some sort of violence or abuse since I was a little girl. Now, I was 9 years old when a certain person that was related to my stepfather, his brother, I'll just say that, went to prison for 40-year sentence, okay? I just got the documents today to see a little bit more about it, because I was a kid, he did do a harmful, heinous, terribly disgusting, horrible thing to me that affected my entire existence at that point in time, because it was on multiple occasions, okay? I'm pretty sure you can fill in the blank, and if you don't know, I'm sure you can figure it out. It was 40-year sentence. I don't think that was even enough. But in the meantime, I struggled my whole life with mental health. I was always very, like I said, insecure, but I was always like, never feeling like I was stable or I had a sense of belonging anywhere. I always traveled back and forth from my mom's to my dad's as I got older, because in the first portion of my life, until I was 14, I didn't have my dad really in my life at all. I mainly had both sets of grandparents, but by the grace of God, they love me so much, you know. And they lived on the same train track, and they lived to where, you know, basically like not even a mile apart. But they loved me tremendously. I was their first grandchild, so we had a very special bond all of my life, and until they just recently all passed away. I don't know why, but Imperfect Beauty, real quick. Kind of put some of this on because I just feel like I want to smell good. I love good smells. Anyway, so I lived with my mother and my stepfather most of my life, and you know, I was traumatized very much so as a little girl, and my innocence was taken away from me completely. I mean, there was just nothing left, and the sad part is, and I am going to be emotional because that is who I am, and thank God I am a highly sensitive person. I'm one of the only girls in my family, and I'm very in touch with my emotions and trying to heal because of this torment that I suffered as a child. It just never stopped affecting my life, okay? And so, as a victim of a crime, I didn't know there were any kind of like resources because I was a kid. How do you know this, right? So, here we go into my life, and I mean, I have struggle after struggle. You know, I'm sure I'll share over time, but to make a long portion of that short, so I ended up living with my dad. So let me get to that point real quick. At 14, okay, I move in. It was in '94. We're at a 30-year window right now, and I lived with him. He said I could live with him. I had to ask him. It's the first time I ever really lived anywhere or spent much time with him, so it was very odd for me, I guess. But I didn't want to leave Texas. My mother was going to Kentucky with my little brothers. I realize now, because at the time before she moved, you know, my little brothers were like my babies. And I protected them, and I took care of them, and I made sure they were okay, because we had a very tumultuous relationship between my mother and my stepfather. They were always kind of, you know, arguing and fighting over this, that, and the other, and it was very difficult to even have any kind of just calm energy. And so I'm learning now, like, I'm a highly sensitive person, and I'm always in chaos, and I wasn't just like created to be chaotic. No, that is the kind of energy that I had to possess as a child, and that's because that's what was around me. And then of course I didn't have my father around much, so then when I asked him, can I live with you, he said yes. Well, that year my mother moved away with my two brothers, which I'm looking back now and I'm learning how to heal. Those two boys were like my world, you know, and they were gone all of a sudden. Pedialyte strawberry, so good. So the next thing you know, my grandmother and my grandfather, Harry and Gloria C., they were my mom's parents. They pretty much stayed in Austin, I guess, until my mom left, because they always wanted to be there for her and the kids, us grandkids. Because it's me, Charlie, Mitchell, there's three of us. And we were the only grandkids for like 30 years. I'm serious. I'm the only granddaughter for like that long, too, so that's a long time, right? Well, they both moved away. And I didn't realize at the time, like, I was having some really serious issues. I didn't know, like, my mom and my group nanny, especially, they were two of the women in my life. They're just gone. And my papa, who loved me tremendously, he's gone. Now I'm living with my dad that doesn't really know me, and I was trying to stay in Austin because I was scared to go to Kentucky. I didn't want to be around my stepdad. I'm going to be quite frank. He's never really had a bond with me or comfort or any kind of safety. Like I said, his brother is the one that went to prison sentence for 40 years later on. I mean, and then it was actually 1989, I believe, he was sentenced out of Williamson County. So anyhow, being that I do care about victims, I'm always on a pursuit to understand myself. So anyways, so time goes on. I go through so many different experiences, stories of my life. Like I had shared recently, my first story I shared was about my 5 years incarcerated as a captive, and where God captivated me truly. And that's just one portion of it. I mean, it was always so completely crazy situations, like unheard of, like seriously. I don't know people that have gone through the things that I've been through, or I've had, but the divine power of God, man. Let me tell you something. He has saved me so many times, and it's for this. It's to help other people heal and to help victims in Texas, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to help others. It's not just about me, ever, ever, ever. So in the meantime, my sons, that's really my number one reason. Okay, let's just get it real clear right there. And I have yet to have them in my life at the capacity that they deserve, and vice versa. So anyway, so I live with my dad. Now, mind you, from the time I was about 14 years old, I have been seeking therapy, counseling, somebody for, all of my life, really. I have done this, whether I'm paying for it or not, or whatever. Some people would feel bad for me because I was always like, what's wrong with me? Something's wrong with me. I don't know why. Like, why is it that all these, I was just so tormented in my head all the time. I didn't understand. I was giving myself to men that didn't deserve that. I didn't love myself ever, of course, right? And I was doing things that were just making it seem so easy to just take advantage of me. I was very vulnerable and very unaware of what love was, too, of course. And I guess the connection, like in any kind of sexual situation with a guy as I got older, was like, I guess my subconscious need to be loved, but I wasn't thinking that at the time. Because, of course, those don't work out when you're just too easily influenced by a situation where you're just, really longing for something just super pure, which is not happening whenever you're giving yourself to someone that you're not being loved by and you don't love yourself, of course. So time marches on, and actually, a person that I met in the correctional facility there, a girl, I ended up in a relationship with her, and long story short, she has been a havoc on my life. I'm not going to lie to you. Still to this day, she's got effects on me that are not good, but I still pray for her, and I still walk in love, so I'm not going to sit and harp on that. But she had mentioned one day, because at the time she came to Austin, I hadn't seen her in like 9 years, I think. Because we had never seen each other outside of the correctional facility. And she came down, and we ended up staying together in my apartment. I got us a place where I got 2-bedroom place right across from where I was doing hair as a stylist at near where my parents live. Anyway, in Austin. And so when she came into my life, she had had an injury. Some guy had hurt her, and she had mentioned she was getting crime victims compensation. I said, what is that? And so she told me, and I said, you know what? I said, well, how crazy would that be if I called there and like they said I had a fund from when I was a kid? Because I never heard about this, right? And it seems like something that would, because there's no statute of limitations on what that guy did to me. So I would imagine that if there was a fund, it would still be legitimately there, right? Or something, or I could file for it or something. So basically, and what that does, crime victim compensation, for those of you that don't know, which I just talked to a woman, she, works at the district clerk's office in Williamson County. I just informed her of what it is because nobody knows what this is. It's really irritating me because not only do you not know what it is because nobody either tells you or puts you in line with it when you're a child, or they just don't have enough people that are informed. So when I tell you I navigate systems, I'm going to inform you all of what I can tell you and what has worked for me and what hasn't. So maybe if you or anyone you know is also a victim of a crime or was present at the crime scene and has been a witness to it, you are also somebody that's eligible for this, okay? So basically, I contacted them, and lo and behold, here I am. It's a 2017 at the time. Here I am doing great, running a salon, everything's fine. And during the time right then, actually, I got a phone call. It was the same year. Actually, it might have been right before, where the boards of pardons, Texas Pardons and Paroles, contacted me and let me know that the guy that was my accused, the one that harmed me, that was in the prison system here for almost 40 years already, had passed away from cardiac arrest. Okay, so for someone that doesn't understand the trauma and what it can do to your body, and see, now I thought I had worked through this. Like I said, I had been seeing therapists here and there. I finally was diagnosed like in 2000, I think it was 4 actually, bipolar. Because I went like a whole week without sleep and like couldn't sleep, and I just was drinking and couldn't do it. Wasn't affecting me, so finally I got some medication to calm me down because I was just, I never understood what was wrong with me. Whether it would be chemical, lack of dopamine or serotonin in my brain. They were giving me all kinds of medicine after that, but I know now what works for me, and it's the Lord. He's healing me from every single part of that because He's helping me deal with some of this unresolved trauma and coming into the truth of everything that was actually happening, what did happen, and what could have happened, you know. So, and bringing up the past is good for me because I never dealt with it. So if anybody says don't talk about the past, it's a person that doesn't want to heal, or they don't care if you do. So that's a ridiculous thing to say to someone, by the way. I just want to make note of that. Okay, so I call. Okay, so I get the phone call, and in the day that they called to tell me that, I literally had a meltdown. I had a meltdown because everyone was like, "You should be happy." I'm like, it's not even about that. It was a physiological response to the situation. When I heard that news, I just lost it. I don't know what it was. It was just like I felt so much heaviness just like come off of me, to the point where I think it was just like my body was like in shock almost, because your body and your brain work simultaneously. You know what I'm saying? There's a divide, and but they have to have each other to work properly. One is creative thinking, you know, one side, and the other side is logic. So they have to work together for it to be proper, you know. So anyway, so of course at that point I literally lost like my mind for a little while. I was so disturbed by this whole thing because I guess I didn't even really think about it. I don't know why. I can't explain that completely, but I just know that I did contact Crime Victims Compensation. And I remembered a long time ago, my mother used to talk to this lady named Raven Kazan, and I thought she worked for them, but apparently not. She doesn't work there anymore. But I called, and what do you know? They said, yes, you do. You have a fund here since 1989. And that's a long time, right? I mean, $40,000 was there for me to have access to mental health care and therapy and trauma treatment, which of course could have possibly, you know, aided in me having a more healthy, wholesome, beautiful life, okay? And it was heartbreaking to me because it let me know like there was no one aware of me still all throughout, even after the trauma had happened to me. That's why I know these cycles never had stopped. I mean, they're still going on, still trying to come into my life. I'm here to say what's real because I have nothing to lie about. I'm not here to shame in myself, that's for sure, because I have already had enough of that if you have not understood by what I've expressed to you, even up until this point. But nobody cared, okay? I'm just saying straight up. And I'm not blaming, oh, it's all this person's fault or this person. No, there are people accountable in my life. They're going to be accountable because if I was accountable for all the things that were thrown at me, and indirectly as injustices, also based on me not having the kind of protection, support, and care and concern from my personal, you know, direct links to who knew about this, which is my family, my parents. I mean, I'm not gonna lie about it because there's no reason. I deserve to be healing and healed. I deserve to have a beautiful life and loved, and I'm going to. God is healing me as I do these videos. I promise you. This is not something that is going to be lightly taken by me now that I'm in an understanding of the truth. Because do you know how many children in this world are affected by sexual abuse or are just harmed indirectly by their families or their parents fighting? Or I am tired of not standing up for children, especially. Now, women are a different story. That's a different entity of like whole processes and things that go on when women are in battered situations or, you know, family violence or whatever. But anyhow, children though, we are the world, we are the children, right? We are the ones to make a brighter day, so let's start living. There's a choice we're making. Now, I'll keep saying that. That keeps coming to my mind because let me tell you, Michael Jackson was traumatized to the extreme and exploited. I mean, he didn't have a fighting chance, that kid. And like, he named his kid Blanky. I would have done, and I wish I would have done the same thing. He would have been a cute Blanky. Dylan would have. But no. You know, we all judged him. Even I did. And I'm so upset that I did that because I didn't know. I didn't realize, like, yeah, he was a star, but he didn't have a choice. He was going to be a famous little kid, and he was never going to have a normal life from the jump, you know, because he was that little talented, little amazing man he became, of course. And everything that people talked about him is so foul. People are just so quick to look and to judge everyone around them. But, oh, gee, only God can do that, okay? You are not responsible for judging anyone unless you're in the judge's seat in a dang courtroom. And even still, God needs to work through that judge for it to be justice. Bring forth, you know, righteousness and justice. So anyway, I find out I have this fund, right, for $40,000. I end up getting a really great, eventually. Okay, so I was seeing a therapist around that time, probably, or like a little bit before. She was great. She wasn't a certified, she wasn't a psychotherapist. She was just a regular, like, LCD, SW, or whatever. And she was so good, and she helped me a lot, but I paid her $75 each time. And then the next thing you know, she started working with crime victims, and they started to do this thing where basically what happens, I mean, they definitely make it really complicated, and I'm working through this with these people because I will take it to the highest extent that I have to make this proper and effective. Now, it says it'll pay, I mean, it's got, crime victims has these little stipulations, of course, but they're one of the biggest things is that, yeah, that if someone's willing to work with them, which is hard to find, okay, guys, because people don't know about it, and thinking about working with the state and for the state paying them, back, it's kind of scary, because we know how the state can sometimes be. So, whenever that had happened, and I found out the guy died, and then I found out there was money there for me, I was panicking, and I called my therapist up, and I was like, what can I do? She's like, I'm going to send you to my therapist. So my therapist sent me to her therapist. And that's so badass because you know what? She knew the level of the extent of circumstances was profoundly extreme. And she had been talking to me for a long time already before that, as my therapist. So I ended up getting another therapist. Her name was Wendy Bird, and she's like one of the best therapists in Austin. She's actually a psychotherapist. At the time, it was like 130 or 160 a visit. And she and I meshed very well. And my ex at the time was actually going to see her best friend in Westlake. I was going off Mesa in Austin, somewhere. Now, they both were willing to do our crime victims, and that was so awesome because we both had it at the time. Okay, so anyway, so I start seeing her and all that. And she helps me because she's, doing the payments through crime victims compensation. So, I mean, I've had psychiatric care for quite some time, Right now, I'm not taking anything. I took a piece of a Xanax, which is what really calms me down and, like, takes the edge off just a little bit and helps me to think and to speak to you all in a way that I hope is really effective because I can be very neurotic and spastic in my energy and my anxiety so out of control that I seem like I'm on drugs to people. Or there's also me being just in my natural energy. When there isn't anything affecting me, if I get overstimulated, if I go into a busy store, if I have pressure or something going on, I tend to be like talking fast and like certain things that I do. But I found out that I am a highly sensitive person, so I do get easily stimulated and overstimulated fast. So it does create this whole different like personality kind of in me. But I'm working on that. So I know when I take, what I do take is the Xanax, which doctors and everybody puts a stigma on it. It's ridiculous. About the only thing wrong with Xanax is overtaking it, of course. But if you're taking it and it's helping you to be productive and effective in life, there is no reason you shouldn't have that. Now, I'm just going to give you an example on this note, just real quick. I have had a back problem, critical, and I've been agonizing pain sometimes. And the trauma that I was going through was just creating more and more inflammation in my body. I believe almost every mental diagnosis is caused, almost all of them, I promise you, is nature versus nurture. I mean, there's a lot of it that's just produced through experiences in our life, especially when your brain's developing from 1 to 5. That's the most, it's absorbing like a little sponge. But anyways, so I had this back problem, so they've been giving me medication over and over every single time. It's always going to have a type of an anti-inflammatory in it. Now, if you've ever had taken a bite of a ibuprofen or anything, you can see how it will burn your whole mouth. It will burn super bad. I've had to do it one time when I had a toothache, and I put it there, and it burns it to where it like kind of calms down the pain. So you can imagine for 5 years at least now that they've been giving me those, and they're super scared usually to give me any kind of benzodiazepam, which is the Xanax or Klonopin, anymore because they think that's worse. It's habit forming. It's, the FDA has made this huge ordeal about it, but the problem is this: the ibuprofen they're giving me is causing me more long-term negative, terrible side effects. I mean, there's a time where I couldn't even drink milk anymore. It was making me so sick, but now I can because I am not taking that. I take it very rarely. Now, if you look at the side effects of the Xanax, okay, it might tell you the motor skills will be slow. You might be slower. Basically, don't operate with heavy machinery. Now, you're not going to see where it's talking about, oh, it's going to destroy your internal liner in your stomach. You might not be able to do this or that, and this and that, and this and that. There's so much more to an ibuprofen than a Xanax. Xanax is what helps me. Ibuprofen does not help me as much. So it's like everything in America's health systems, the doctors, the stigmas are all misplaced. They really are. I mean, and it's something I'm going to also pursue, because I have been judged and shamed for taking medication like that and narcotics. Oh my gosh. But it helps me. It helps me. And if I don't need it, I won't take it. You know what I mean? If I feel okay, I won't take it. I'm not overtaking it. But ibuprofen is going to destroy the internal parts of my organs and stuff like that over time, especially taking them as long as they have been trying to keep them in my system. So anyway, that being said, where was I? Let's see, we were talking. Okay, so crime victim compensation. So I go see the psychiatrist and everything. I start doing EMDR, which, let me tell you something, guys. This is another thing I want to highlight. EMDR is like not even a medication, right? It doesn't require any kind of chemicals. It is I can't remember what year it was discovered. Now, basically all it is like, well, a guy, I think it was a guy and a lady were talking or something along those lines, where basically she was just doing something with her fingers or her hands, and he was watching her at the time, and he started noticing they were defusing and detriggering the triggers. They were getting I mean, they weren't really trying to do this, but basically EMDR is eye movement desensitization. Here they are, whatever, EMDR. I can't figure it out right now, and I don't have the other phone on, so I can't look, so that's okay though. But EMDR is a type of trauma treatment for psychotherapy to get your triggers. What happens is it's either with lights, sometimes it's with sounds and tapping. They're different. It's all natural, okay? There is no medication involved in this. There's nothing going to shock your brain. There's nothing weird. This is the simplest form of trauma treatment. And there's not enough people that know about this, and I think I'm going to start going into possibly learning how to do this myself, so I can help myself as well. And my son actually does this, Devin, but he does his own thing that he's discovered that works for him. But I would like to be a facilitator of that if I could. I don't know what all is required at this time, but it seems like it should be super simple, because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to do a sound and effects with your hand or with tapping or the buzzing sounds. So we'll see about that. I'm gonna look into it. So anyhow, I started doing that, and it was helping me. And what you do with EMDR is it has to be somebody that knows how to do it. There is a certain way, and basically you don't need to be in a crisis at the time. It's not a good thing to have it happen when you're in a crisis, because you got too much other stuff going on. It's just too busy in your energy. And so it's best when you're not in one. So basically, you can talk through some different things, as they'll ask you, like, what is the first thing that comes to your mind, when at this time, or what was the first memory you have, or whatever. And before you know it, you're talking through these certain questions that the facilitator or the doctor or psychiatrist or whatever is asking you. And then when you think about those triggers again later, they're not triggers anymore. It literally it rewires your brain in that area where it was like an attack, because we come up with these triggers, and they're not even because we're thinking it. It's just naturally in our body. It's the body and the brain, like I said, work simultaneously anyway. So I did that. But so as time's gone on, I've been trying with crime victims compensation to go to another facility. It's like 60 days, I believe, and it's in a very, very beautiful place. It's high end, nice facility. And I believe I talked to them January this year. I wanted to go there. I'm just going to fast forward, because there's been so many days. I've spent 6 hours sometimes. I've spent multiple hours just waiting to get someone to answer their phones, and nobody would answer. And that is insane. That is awful. You know how many people might think that they can have access to something, maybe if they even are informed, and they do, but then they can't get the results that they need to actually get any healing. So it becomes even a more tragic event. It becomes more traumatizing to that person, because they're feeling hopeless now. They thought they had access to care, they were going to get some treatment, and they can't, because nobody will answer the phone or call you back or do their job properly. Now, I used to have a lady there she was the director, and she's recently quit. In the last few years, she retired, as well as my nurse. So the ones that I was able to communicate with that knew me, that helped me get into my other treatment a couple of years ago, back in like 2018. They're no longer there. So please excuse my vape if you have a problem with it. Trust me, they're getting rid of these in like 3 days in Texas, so don't worry. Anyhow, so okay, so I found this facility and they're willing. I mean, I talked to them extensively and they're willing to like work with me, and it's gonna be $50,000. Now I have the one crime victim fund, which was 40,000. Then I got another one later on in 2019 from my ex that was harassing and going crazy and doing all kinds of violence to me and lying to everybody to make it justified somehow, which they seem to have believed her. I don't really know, and I don't have to care about that because God is taking care of all that. I don't have to worry anymore. But so I had $90,000 in there, right, and which I still do. This is called a fund. It is for me and my healing from violence and from being abused and whatever. But now I can't get to it. I can't use it because they're gonna make a stipulation about all of it. Like, for example, say a person is on drugs and they have a drug addiction, right? And a lot of times that comes from being a victim of violence or abuse, or maybe from childhood abuse, whatever. And you'll find probably almost 100% of people on drugs either had abandonment issues, they were abused. I mean, there's so much that goes into this that we just like overlook it because people don't want to face the truth inside of them, whether they were the person that victimized or the victim themselves. And it's causing a fundamental lapse. It's like we're just creating the same narrative over and over, expecting different results. That's insanity, right? So I'm trying to get into this facility. I have the money in both of my funds, definitely enough to cover it. It was somewhere where I could essentially, truly get the healing that I deserve and that anybody would deserve. And if someone is willing to take the money from crime victims, that's a pretty big deal. And so, like, I've been talking to the girl there for a while, like I said, and she knows I'm very serious about it. And she has, I've given the numbers, her phone number to the woman that called me, which I don't believe was actually who that was. She was supposed to be my nurse, calling me one day from crime victims conversation. Finally, right, I get a phone call, and she was talking to me in such a rude, non-compassionate way. I was almost like, this is not someone that works there. There's no way, because this is. She goes, why don't you just go to therapy? Like, what did you say to me? Why don't I go to therapy, lady? Really? I'm like, this is not even for real. Anyway, so bottom line is this: like, this was in March when I heard from this woman from Crime Victims Compensation after I've called and called and called. They owe me like $3,000. Okay, from past bills that were paid that were supposed to be reimbursed. So this woman calls me and she does this, and it's the state of Texas when she calls, which, like I said, I've had some things going on. I'm not going to get into it on this video. It's going to take too much time. I'll do another one. But it just seems like that was just the most inappropriate thing to say to someone, you know, especially under the circumstances. Actually, her question to me was asking me, was I not safe where I was living before? No, I wasn't, but that wasn't the focus. The focus to get me some treatment. So, of course, she didn't contact the girl at the facility, and nobody has. And I pretty much, an obstruction of justice is overall what it is, but I have my First Amendment right that I'm exercising, of course, which is freedom of speech. And I tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. Ask me a question. There's no shame in my life because I can tell you I've done everything wrong. I've done a lot of good, too, a lot of good. And I'm going to continue to do that. In Jesus' name, amen. So, needless to say, you know, it's hard to get the care you need. Matter of fact, I met a girl the other day. She's a victim of being actually abducted and raped and left for dead. For 3 hours she was there. She had a broken collarbone. And this happened a couple years ago here in vicinity of Central Texas. I'm not going to mention the details. It was definitely on the news. They did catch the guy. He is now serving time in prison. I don't know how much time. I didn't ask her. But she also told me, she is damaged. She said she was damaged is what the word she used. And she was shaking, you know, and she was actually driving me one day somewhere in one of the rideshare programs. And so she told me she had applied for crime victims and hadn't gotten anything out of it yet. It's been 2 years. And this girl was left for dead with a broken collarbone after being raped. Okay. So if you understand what I'm saying to you about the violence victims, I have a real problem with the fact that there is no help. I don't care what Texas posts and what they put on the website. It's not some easy walk in the park. It is not something that people will easily access. So you become another victim of the system. If you have a fund, it's your fund. It should be accessible. It should be easy. If I want to go to a 60-day facility for $50,000, that should be automatic. They're trying to say, well, we need to make sure we talk to the people there and make sure it's associated with the crime that you have the crime victims compensation for. Well, I mean, essentially, I'm sitting on a beanbag. I have a little one of those squishy beanbags. It's a cat, but I got it covered right now because I got wet. But anyhow, essentially, it's just it's something I'm going to pursue. Okay, I'm not going to stop in Texas. I'm planning on moving out of the state soon, and I'm still going to pursue Texas because it has been on my mind. Like, you know, people go to jail, right, for crimes, but then the victims are left to suffer their whole life, and then they're going to be shamed, misled. They're going to be treated like they're too. The empathetic people, especially the ones I know, highly sensitive people, are typically subject to a lot of darker energy type of people because they prey on that because they know that they can get the love that they always needed, but they cannot give it back. So, anyhow, I want to help advocate for this always, for people to get some real true help because it's not right. It's just not right. So anyway, moving forward, I just want to touch base on this other aspect of this, though, just for me personally, so I can give you a knowing. To see is to know. And I share this, and I hope and pray that for anyone on their healing journey, or if you haven't started, that you will listen to me and see how I'm navigating now at this time. Because, like I said, I've been striving to heal my whole life, wondering what is wrong with me always. And there's nothing wrong with me at all, actually, I've learned. It was a lot of good things about me, but no one ever emphasized that because it was easier to deflect and make it seem as though I was a crazy girl. I didn't deserve love. I didn't deserve to have proper justice and treatment and protection and honor towards me from my family, both sides of my family. I've since discovered recently that most of my family involves a lot of these characteristics of it's just darker energies. I'm going to say that. There's a lot of lovelessness in my life, okay, for my family. But I'm on a mission to love, so LOVE, right? I'm going to do that. I'm going to love myself. So in essence of doing that, I'm protecting myself and my rights, and I'm also walking in the truth. So anyway, I discovered after my stepdad decided to tell me that his brother had passed away in prison. He said, would you like for me to tell you what really happened? I thought, oh, yeah, sure, please. I would like that, yeah. Tell me what really happened. As if I wouldn't know, okay? He proceeded three different times to try to portray a hero in my life at that time, and everything he said was lies. He told me his brother was arrested in Bell County, which is not the truth. I got the documents today that he was definitely not, because he was sentenced out of Williamson County. Now, when I was being abused, it happened in Round Rock and Taylor on a way to Virginia in the back of a vehicle where my parents were driving it. And when he told me that where he was arrested was wrong, he was just telling me all these lies, okay? Like I wouldn't remember, I guess. I'm not sure. But why would he wait till at the very end when his brother's not there to even tell me what really happened in the first place? So the next thing he proceeds to tell me without realizing is, first of all, his brother was older than him. He tells me that he knew because he saw his brother with two little kids in the backyard of their house. And one was sitting on his lap. He was touching inappropriately. They saw this happen before he met my mother. He said that and didn't realize what he was saying, of course. And so he just, like, sacrificially subjected me to this kind of harm my whole life. I mean, and my mom and him were very intoxicated all the time and fighting a lot, like I said. And so he knew when he left me in his care what was going to happen to me. And that right there is where I'm having a hard time, because he's a monster. That's a monster. Monsters do that to little kids, little girls. Now, I can't remember what age I was when it started happening, but I do know that I was living in Taylor, Texas at the time when CPS came and got me out of school. I was in third grade. And that day my mom had dropped me off, and I remember it was kind of foggy outside, And I walked across the field, and it was, it was foggy, and I can't even remember the name of my elementary school out there. I know it's T.H. Johnson Middle School, I think was the middle school, but I was in elementary. Anyway, so I'm getting called out of class that day, and my mom dropped me off, so it was foggy that day, and so, of course, I didn't come out of school on time. But what they did was they called me into an office at the school, Child Protective Services did, and they had discovered this incident had been occurring with me, this assault from this man, and how they knew, I didn't tell him. I don't know. I really don't know. As far as I know, he confessed himself, which he may have, because I believe what I was told is that he got caught doing this to some other children in Palestine, Texas, where he was working as a what? Prison guard, a CO. Of course, right? Anyway, my stepdad's mother did this to me too. She also let me go sleep in a room with him by myself, and it was horrible. Horrible. Okay? So, CPS comes to get me and talks to me, and they're talking to me, and it's very awkward, obviously. I'm very, very uncomfortable because they're like, they have a baby doll, and they're like showing me parts of the baby doll, and they're like, did he touch you here? And I'm like, I'm so embarrassed and humiliated. I don't even want to talk about this, but this is obviously a thing that I'm having to deal with now because they're there, and this is a problem now, right? We have to address it, and I'm young. I was just probably like 8 or 9. As a baby. Now, I remember too, what happened after they did all that is my mom and my stepdad came and got me. And my stepdad, that was a day I felt like for one time I thought he loved me. He held me, and he's like holding me, and I'm just like kind of like in his cognitive dissonance. And he said he disowned his brother. And I thought he must love me because that's like a big deal, No. So anyway, like I said, in 2017, he proceeded to tell me that he knew his brother was like this before he met my mother. And that tells me that he put me in this harm's way willingly, knowingly, intentionally. There is no other way to describe this besides a monster. So as I am navigating and trying to pursue justice and righteousness for myself so I can have my sons be safe and be with me in my lifetime the way they're meant to. They're always supposed to have their mother. I was always a great mother. But everyone always wanted to cast me out and say that, your mom's this, she's crazy. She's crazy. Now, I have since taken medication multiple times, so many times. I've been to psychiatrists, doctors, you name it, therapists, psychotherapists. Right now, I'm not seeing anybody, which I need to. It would be good. But my point is that, trying to get access to justice and also to healing is really hard. It's really hard, especially when in Texas you have these, resources, they say, but where are the resources? No, they don't. Anyway, so I'm going to conclude right now, and I'm going to start another video here in a minute. I'm going to get up and stretch and stuff. My back's hurting. But I just want to leave it at that right now. So just know there are resources, and if you would like to let me know or engage with me on these things, please send me a message on Messenger. I don't take friend requests typically unless they're friends of mine or somebody that I really know. You can follow me on here. It's Mila Maxwell, as you know, and it says Heidi and Clark, because Mila was one of my cats I loved tremendously, and so was Maxwell was my Chihuahua. That's where I got the name. You'll also see one is called Violet Clover, and that's my other 2 cats. I like to use those names. They're cute. I love my animals' names, and they were amazing creatures, and they did such a beautiful thing in my lifetime at the time I had them. Anyway, but I love you guys, and I'm going to be sharing more and more about these injustices, so we can try to see if we can work together and continue to heal. In order to do that, you have to come to the truth, and it's very hard sometimes, like I said, but the truth will set you free. Jesus came to set the captives free, guys. Okay? And remember what it said in Heaven Calling today. I'm going to remind y'all one more time. I'm going to say it one more time because that's super important. What God says to us today. I mean, He is in the midst at all times. When you think He's not listening or not there, He is here listening. Okay. And it's almost the end of August. It's almost Libra season. Oh my God. I'm going to be 45. Time to thrive. 44. Made for more. Okay. So again, it says, on time. My child, I still act in an unjust world. The evil that surrounds my people does not mean that I have turned a blind eye or that I no longer care. I am always aware of the hurting and the lost, and I hear their cries for mercy. Remember this whenever you fear that I have not heard you, or worse, that I am deliberately ignoring you. My love is constant, never changing. I hear your every prayer and I answer in my way and time. When my timing does not match your expectations, don't give up on prayer, beloved. And don't give up on me. I always arrive on time. What does it say? God is good. God is good all the time. His timing is perfect. His thoughts are not our thoughts. His ways are not our ways. Hallelujah to that. And just hold on to hope, okay? We're going to get through this together. And it says heaven calling, because that's what it's all about. It is a heaven calling. I love you all, and I'll see you in just a little bit. Bye.